Welcome back, and it's great to have you guys here. Thanks for everything you do for Pitt football and your coverage, on a daily basis and throughout the ceiling. We appreciate it. We're a month out from Kent. July 31st, August 31st, we'll be lining up and playing some ball here. So we're just excited. Our kids are excited. It's really not a welcome back yesterday when they come back because they've been here all summer. I think sometimes we forget that. Even as coaches, we forget it sometimes that they've been here working and ready for this. They were excited today. We had a lot of enthusiasm out there. It's day one. As a head coach, day one's always, you're out there in spiders and you don't get to see a whole lot. Never as clean as you want it to be. I think when you look at it overall, you just love the energy and the intensity. And we'll continue to clean it up as we move forward. So with that, we'll open up for questions.
Pat, I'm not breaking any news by saying your job, college football head coach, is one of the toughest in sports. You have to recruit kids and re-recruit them. You work 24/7. You take work on vacation. I heard you say that. And then you get second guessed by idiots like me. What exactly?
I like being second guessed by you, Jerry.
What exactly brings you back every year?
That's a great question. I think what brings coaches back, brings me back, because that's the one you asked about, is your love for the game. We talked about it today in our team meeting, just about the team. There's no greater sport than the game of football. As coaches, I think we're in this game because we like to compete. You can't play anymore, so you get to coach. And to be able to bring this group together every year and produce, try to get them to gel on offense, defense, special teams, and try to put the best product on the field. That's what you do it for. And it's a competition. It's a challenge. It's fun. You embrace the new stuff that we have out there, whatever it is for a head coach, whether it's the house and all the different things that are happening that, there's still a lot of unknowns. It's fun. This is the best time of the year. Okay, now January, to I guess really, June, that's probably the worst time of the year. But right now, when you're talking about August, this is the best time of year. This is what we live for.
Now, what do you like about this group?
What do I like about him? I think there's a little bit different attitude. Just talking to Stack, and he's been with them more than we have as coaches. He gets more time with the players. But there's again, Coach Stacchiotti, that is. There's just a different attitude. I think we learned a lot from last season. I think, I'll say it again. I think you came out of last year, and I think they thought that we would just line up and it would happen easy. I think they're hungry to play football. I don't think. And again, it's hard as a coach to see it. And again, maybe you get a wrong break, and all of a sudden it doesn't go the way you want, but. I like their attitude. I like the leadership. I see more leadership out of this group, out of our seniors, out of our Eagles. It's been a really clean summer for our kids. They've done a nice job. And again, it starts with the leadership. To me, when you got a mature team, and again, I don't know if we have a mature team. I think we have a younger team. We have a lot of guys unknown, maybe some no-name guys out here that you don't even know who are going to be the guys at certain positions. But I know there's a lot of talent. There's more talent on this football team than we had a year ago, but it might be younger. Last year we had some guys at the corner position, the defensive line was older, but we're younger, we're more athletic, and I just think the attitude. I think sometimes you got to get smacked and knocked down before you go, oh, I got it. I think they got it.
This is your 10th year with the program as the head coach. What's the challenge of balancing, maintaining the tone that you want as a head coach, but also introducing new things, new coaches, new tones, and new leadership that go with this job?
Yeah, I don't think that's a challenge at all. I mean, everybody buys into what we are and who we are. You change. There's always changes in X and O's, whether you're, have a new staff, or a new half a staff, whatever it may be. I think those things are always evolving every year. But to me, the challenge is to coach them, get the details out of the players, and go out and execute.
You talked about leadership, and what have you seen from Nate Jarnell just kind of having this whole offseason being that quarterback? I mean, I know he went to Charlotte with you. I mean, how has he carried himself?
He's done a nice job. I think he's led, and again, we're trying to get leadership from everywhere. I really like Nate to focus on playing quarterback. That's the main thing. To me, the quarterback doesn't have to be the leader. He's already the leader by the position, okay? He needs to play the best football that he can play. He needs to take care of his business first, and then, the leading will come with that. We didn't expect Kenny Pickett to lead when he was a freshman or sophomore or first-year starter. So, that'll come. But we've got a lot more guys that can lead besides just Nate Jarnell. But he's got leadership skills, there's no question about it, and he has to as the quarterback.
Pat, when we talked to the players in spring, specifically Gavin and Rodney both brought up how they didn't want to, how they may have had opportunities to lead after last year, but that they both had like a bad taste in their mouth after going 3-9. That's not the legacy they wanted to lead. Do you think them having that attitude can be like a springboard for them to take on leadership roles?
No question about it. I mean, both of them are better leaders than they were a year ago. I think both of those guys, Gavin and Rodney, have stepped up and are doing good things out there. But it's called loyalty, and I think those guys all know. And again, I think if we won 8 games or 9 games last year, the same's going to come. And those guys are going to be with Pitt. That's just who they are. They're loyal. And again, we've got a lot of those guys. And again, things happen for a reason. Guys leave for a reason. It's usually, either you got pushed a little bit, get a little nudge, or you're disloyal.
Coming off of the season you guys had last year, is there a different sense of urgency maybe coming into this year's camp, even from day one for you and maybe for those senior leaders?
No question. For everybody in this room, I think, even the incoming freshmen know that was not the standard. So there's a different attitude, without a doubt. There's got to be, we went through spring ball, there was a different attitude. They went through winter conditioning, there was a different attitude. They went through summer conditioning, there's a different attitude. And there has to be. There's got to be an attitude adjustment. I think that has occurred, and I think they got it. I just see a more serious football team. And like I said, sometimes you're going, well, shoot, how did you not know? You can't tell. But now I can tell the difference of what we had and what we, you kind of now are looking for something, but you didn't really see it blending from 22 to 23 or 21 to 22 to 23.
Who are those players that are leading this season outside of Jarnell? Who are those players you're seeing lead the team and what do you have?
Brandon George has done an outstanding job. I think he stands out as far as just taking control. I see him in text messages. With the Eagles and myself, and so I see that leadership there. I see Kanate Mumfield stepping up, leading. I see Eli Holstein leading. Eli's done a nice job, and again, there'll be competition at that quarterback position, as I've said before. I'll say it again. So Eli's, he does a nice job leading and getting around all the guys and letting them know who he is. Branson Taylor's done a nice job. Defensive line wise, I think Nate Matlack's taking a leadership role, even though he's a new guy. Donovan McMill again has stepped up and led, as well as McIntyre has done that, and so is PJ O'Brien. So we've got a lot of guys that are just again, whether it's leading vocally or leading by example.
Talking about Donovan,
He didn't start at the very first couple games last year, but now he's had a whole season with your defense. Had a really good one too. I mean, how have you seen him kind of approach this year, and what kind of expectations do you have for him?
Yeah, I mean, that's a neat story. I don't think a lot of people talk about. When I asked a couple of our guys, just when we got a lot of competition going on everywhere. Okay, and Donovan McMill was in the heat of competition with him and PJ and Javon, and I may have told the story a year ago, coming out of spring ball. I'd ask every DB who's the starting safety, and it was Javon McIntyre. We didn't have a second safety. That's kind of that was. I'm not telling you anything I didn't tell a lot of our players, tell our safeties, like, hey, right now they don't trust you as a starter. You got a lot of work to do. But PJ and Javonte and Javon McIntyre started, and Donovan came in after that second half of that Cincinnati game, took over, and that's sometimes you can't see it in practice. And Donovan has continued to understand the defense. I think he's got a great grasp of what we're doing right now. I mean, last year compared to where he is now, be a question for him today. Just like, where is your knowledge base? I bet you he was probably coming out of camp last year, probably a 5, and then he went up to a 7 or 8, and I'd say he's 9 or 10 right now. He's got to feel pretty confident in what we're doing and how we're doing it, which then allows him to take that next step and start leading.
Now, the change in turnover you've had on the coaching staff, what are maybe some of the benefits of that happening? Just how do you feel like that process is coming along right now?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of benefits, and it's never easy to make those changes. After you do it, you're kind of jumping up and down, going, okay, I got it, and And again, the hard part is bringing in the right people to get that done. And you look at, Jake Bernowski, our special teams coordinator. It's a fresh start. I think our kids have all bought into special teams, so it's exciting there. And Coach Bell, I walked out of here 2 minutes before this staff meeting because I'm watching tape with the offense and going through what they did today. And Coach Bell's done an outstanding job with the rest of the new offense coaches on that staff. So they have a lot to prove and on offense. And I know Coach Bro's excited about proving what they've got to, and defense got to prove, that they're back.
Yeah,
So
that seems to be, that seems to be a slogan for you guys this year. I see it in your social media. Prove it. Well, what are you trying to prove? What are you proving? What do you want the players to prove?
Well, I think again it starts with the players. I mean, our leadership council came up with prove it. Like we got a lot to prove. I mean, where were you a year ago? That's where you are. You got a lot of people are going, okay, where's Pitt? They're back where they used to be. Okay, that's not the case. So we got a lot to prove, and got to prove it by position, got to prove it by units, and got to prove it as a team. So there's a lot of proving to do.
Jake and Gavin talked about those OTAs they've been over the summer, the kind of player-led practices. Do you think that led to maybe more smooth transition into fall camp football?
Steve, that's a good question. Probably not. Some of my anxieties after practice today is they're doing it on their own. Okay, that's why they call us coaches, and they don't do it right, and they don't do it like we want them to do it, and they don't do it like they do it when there's a lot of coaches standing there watching. So they need coached, and sometimes I've said this through the years. Sometimes all those OTAs on their own sometimes backfire and aren't as good as you want them to be. At least they're out there working and they're trying. That's the beautiful thing. But as far as the details go, it's got to be more detailed. And but there's no way of getting that with the rules and how we're allowed to spend time with our guys.
Coaches are creatures of habit. How difficult was it for you to change your whole offensive approach, personnel and approach? And when did you decide you had to make that drastic move?
I don't know, Larry. I can't tell you the last question. We'll just leave it at that. But creatures of habit. I think if you look back, our job is to score points. And when Kenny Pickett was here, we were going to use his arm. We were going to throw it because we knew he could. He had weapons at the receiver spot and win a championship doing it. After that, it was like, okay, Kenny's gone. There was no way the next year, okay, which was 22, that we were going to go out and throw it like Kenny was. It's just not going to happen. So we went to more of a run style. We had Izzy Abandakanda, who, people didn't even know who he was in 22. So we went to a little bit more of a run style and won 9 games doing it that way. And again, so it's kind of going back and forth a little bit. We were spreading it out when Whipple was here and throwing it all over the place. Then we went to more, conservative, run it and that kind of thing, because that's what our personnel was probably better at. And I think we're back to where maybe we can sling it around a little bit more and spread it out.
What did Cory do to earn the promotion to assistant head coach?
Great question. Cory Sanders, assistant head coach. I kind of told him probably months before I was going to do it, and did it. I don't know, the end of June or whenever it was. He's very detailed on defense. He's been a head coach before. He lost Charlie Partridge, who did a great job at that role, and I wanted to have somebody, in that role. And Cory's not a coordinator. He's a guy that I can trust. I think it comes down to trust. I know he's very detailed. I know he's a heck of a teacher. And I know he's well respected by the rest of the football team. I think it comes down to respect, first of all. But he's a heck of a coach. He's done a great job developing that room. And he'll take on any role as assistant head coach that I give him.
Does that trust involve him maybe being able to come into your office and tell you maybe something you don't want to hear? Is that kind of what comes with that position?
That should happen all the time, Chris. That's like, we're not hurting anybody's feelings. To me, when you have guys on your staff that you trust, I expect that to happen, okay? And, I can't say that necessarily happened on offense last year. That was one of the things that kind of ticked me off is, didn't seem like there was that come in and say, hey, this coach, this is what I think. I don't think we're doing this or that. It was more like they just kind of kept to themselves. And to me, I need a guy. I need guys. I need 10 of them that are like that. I need 10 assistant head coaches that are going to come in and say, hey, coach, I'm just thinking that. That's what I did for D'Antonio, and it wasn't, I think that's what got me the assistant head coaching role when I was there. But, I want 10 of those guys. I don't want a bunch of yes men. I want guys who are going to tell you what they feel, whether they're right or wrong. To me, that's you're really good when you've got that. And, I've got more than one. I know guys will come in. There's not just those guys. I know our coordinators will come in and talk easily, and I think Coach Bro will. We've got to. I like our staff a lot.
Do you think there's added pressure knowing how successful the other fall sports at Pitt are right now and not wanting to be the odd man out? I know there's already a lot of pressure, but I'm curious if you ever think of it from that perspective.
Not really. I think we've set the standard, winning ACC championships at the highest level. To me, when you do that and you've been to the championship game, we've already done that. You're going to always take a step backwards, and we're looking to take 4 or 5 forward. But I think it just, when you have success in volleyball and probably should have been an attorney in basketball, but weren't. I don't think we won a championship in basketball yet. But to me, you want those. Our guys are looking across. Maybe our guys are going, hey, they won. Let's we got to win. I hope that's what they're looking at. But I wouldn't say there's any added pressure. We've done it.
Personality do you see developing for this team?
Excuse me, Larry.
What kind of personality do you see developing for this team?
I think this football team's got an attitude. I think they're hungry. I think they're determined. To go out and play football the way we expect them to play. So, we got to stay healthy. That's going to be critical. I think that hurt us a year ago. We got to stay healthy, keep our guys on the field, and keep that O-line healthy, especially. I shouldn't say especially. Like, we have to keep everybody healthy. I know they got banged up a year ago. That hurt our production on offense a little bit. But I see a hungry football team that's playing with a little chip on their shoulder.
What are your thoughts on rosters expanding next year, and how does that kind of change your approach to recruiting in the next couple months?
Are the rosters expanding or depleting?
Well, I thought it was going to 95 scholarships.
95? Okay, it really could be 105. Okay. But really, roster sizes are going down for football. Right now, we have 120 in camp. We will be down to 117 when school starts, and we try to hold that 117. I got our operations kind of monitoring how many players practice day one all the way to, practice 20 in camp. Just to see where we are, just to see how we're going to manage, the new roster number, which is 105. Okay, so next year at this time, we'll have 105 guys in camp. That's it. Okay, whether they're on scholarship, whether there's still some walk-ons, it's all yet to be seen. How we're going to manage that, do it. I know from the top, with the chancellor is going to do everything she can. Chancellor Gable to get us what we need. She's competitive. She likes to win, and obviously Heather likes doing the same thing. So we've got great leadership. There's a lot of question marks as far as how we're doing it, what we're doing, but we're going to do what's best for Pitt. And there's going to be a bunch of different ways to slice this thing up. Okay. You can look at it, and there's just so many different ways to look at it. You look at 105 guys, again, we can have 105 scholarships, and we're also able to now pay the players, through, the athletic department, as we know, somewhere between 20 and 22 million will be that purse that we have. But do you pay all 105? Right now we're paying 85, or have 85 scholarships. You could have 105 scholarships. Do you go to 95? Do you go to 100? Do you want to save some spots? Do you have some current walk-ons on your team that you want to have them earn it? You think of Jimmy Morrissey back in the day, the Burlsworth. I mean, that award may be gone now. I don't know what's going to happen to it. Depends on how everybody decides to manage the roster. But I can tell you this: if you have 105 scholarships, after the season, you're going to have a lot more guys jumping in the portal because they're going, I am not playing here. Just 105 is a lot, and it'll be fine. It'll be hard to find 105 guys competitive enough to play and do what we need them to do to win a championship here. So that's all things we got to figure out. It's going to be everybody. I think everybody's going to have a little different style. Some people might say, I want 97. I don't want 105. Some people might say, I want as many as I can get. So we'll find out how that whole thing is going to roll. But there's a lot to think about. And I just don't really want to think about it right now when I coach football.
Anything else about training camp before we wrap up this session?
After the spring game, you said that Nate Jarnell was QB1 heading into fall camp. But today you're bringing up Eli's leadership and such. Is there going to be an open quarterback competition, or is it still?
There's always competition, Amanda. Again, I think I mentioned it down at the media days down in Charlotte last week. I'm going to continue. And I tell you what, Ty Diefenbach looked good today. I mean, there's competition. I think competition makes you good. We got competition at every spot on the D line. It's like, who's going to start at D end, who's going to start at D tackle. I want it to be. There's nobody giving anything. You got to come in and still earn it. You can be QB1 coming out of spring ball. You got to come in and earn it. And you got to earn the trust not only your coaches, of your teammates at every position. And at the end of the day, the players should be like, oh yeah, he's a starter. It should be evident. And if it's not, then we got to make decisions as coaches. But to me, the players decide the depth chart. And coming out of spring ball, to me, you got to. Hey, if we had to open up, spring game's over, and we throw a depth chart up there, and we say, okay, we got to open up today. Who are our guys? You got to be able to make decisions off of spring ball. And then you know what? At the end of August, we got to make decisions as coaches or players on who those guys are going to be. But you have to have competition. If I told the corners that, hey, there's no competition, he's a starter, and you guys can go through practice every day if you want to, but you ain't going to win. I want there to be competition at every position. Nate knows that, Eli knows that, Ty knows that, and I'm going to continue to mention those guys' names because they do some nice things on the field.
How does the departure of Christian Bayer maybe open some doors or open some other opportunities for some of those guys you mentioned, and how does that change the competition?
Yeah, I mean, Christian was a talented young man, and we wish him luck as he took off. But it opens it up where we've got 5 scholarship quarterbacks right now, and it gives opportunities for the guys that are clearly, guys that we trust to run our offense and do what we need them to do. They're going to protect the football, priority number one. I think turnover ratio is the number one critical thing to winning football games, and you got to protect the ball. And, we now, like Ty Diefenbach is going to get better because he's getting more reps. If you were to throw another quarterback in the mix, how do you get 4 quarterbacks ready? It's hard. We can get 3 quarterbacks ready, and we really have to get 2 really, really, really ready. And that's what we'll try to do as we go through camp. But 3 will, get a lot of reps. Julian Duggar got reps today, and he looks much improved. It looks like he's had a great summer.
Greg, why don't you take the last one?
Nate and Gavin talked about how Coach Bell is kind of expecting perfection from them in the offensive room. Have you kind of seen him setting the standard on the offensive side of the ball for this season?
Yeah, I mean, he better. He's the leader of the offense. And I said this a week ago. Like Coach Bell seems like a younger Pat Narduzzi back in the day, kind of aggressive, young, emotional, and again, just demanding excellence. And there's you can't be perfect. We're not going to be perfect. We're not going to be perfect. You're not going to be perfect. Nobody's perfect. But we're demanding excellence out of our players. And the thing I love about him. Okay, it's kind of like I said, the characteristic you see out of him that I didn't know when I hired him is just like he is so, you could throw a touchdown pass, but he's complaining about the protection. Okay, it's not like, oh, that's great, next play. Like no. Even hey, he caught a touchdown pass, but look at that was a crappy route. Like he's got to be. We're not going to win on Saturdays with that route. So it's not just okay, we made a play, we scored a touchdown. It's detailed, 11 guys. Taking care of all those little things matter. And if you just look at the outcome of a play and not look at all the bad things, it's almost like the negative guy in the room. Like it's always like the coaches makes me say, back in the day, as an old coordinator, everybody else is like, well, what a great play, and I'm the grumpy guy, picking out all the other crap that was wrong in the play. And to me, that's how you become great, and that's what I love about what we're doing there. And even Coach Bernowski in special teams.